Welcome to the State of the Market for Law Firm Sales in 7 minutes. My name is Jeremy Poock, and I lead Senior Attorney Match. In today's in 7 minutes is a thought leadership series on financial planning. We'll be discussing maximizing post-sale earnout payments, and I'm excited to welcome my friend and our guest, Darren Wurz. Darren practices as a financial planner at Wurz Financial Services. Darren is the author of The Lawyer Millionaire, leads the Lawyer Millionaire podcast. Darren, welcome. Please share a few words about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. Mentioned the book, The Lawyer Millionaire, the podcast. I'm a fee-only advisor, certified financial planner. And I'm kind of unique in that I have decided to really focus my practice on serving attorneys and law firm owners. So the kind of stuff we're talking about today is stuff I'm talking with attorneys about all the time, helping them figure out how they can retire and how that coordinates with their plan for their business.
Terrific. Darren, welcome. And let's jump right into it. So before we can get to maximizing post-sale earnouts, let's talk about pre-sale. Attorneys in their 50s to their 70s, senior attorneys, are typically in what we call their MVP years of their careers. They have really nailed it when it comes to subject matter knowledge. They've developed great goodwill in their communities. Their client development skills are really at their peak between ages 55 to 75 in particular, and they're starting to develop digital value as well. So Darren, but pre-sale, when lawyers are really in their peak performing years, could you share with us what mistakes that those lawyers should try to avoid and some tips for how to really try to sock away extra money before they sell their practice or head into retirement?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeremy. Those are really critical years. Sometimes in the financial planning world, we call that the red zone. It's that time where you're really thinking seriously about retirement. I think a theme for attorneys and law firm owners in general is getting a late start. Waiting too long would be kind of one of the biggest mistakes. Waiting too long to kind of start the planning. The earlier you can start thinking about all this, the earlier you can start planning for succession, planning for your retirement, the better. And we're going to get into this later on, but selling a law firm is a much lengthier process than other types of businesses. There's a lot more involved. It's much more like a transition than it is just kind of a transaction. And so these are things you need to think about early on and start setting up the structures for and anticipating. I talk to my young attorney clients about, when they're starting their practice, thinking about the eventual sale of it from the get-go. Another big mistake would be not taking full advantage of all the tax opportunities that are available to you. A lot of times as attorneys, you're busy, you're focused on your work, you don't have maybe a lot of the extra time, you don't feel like you have the extra time to think about these things. And so you hire people, you have your financial advisor, you have your accountant who are supposed to be doing these things for you. But a lot of times they're not. And so you really need to think proactively, what are the opportunities I have to really defer as much income as I can? And then, of course, think also about the Roth opportunities. It's not all about the pre-tax. In putting some money into the Roth side is a very important, valuable part of your future financial plan as you get later into retirement. So I think those would be two really big ones. Waiting too long, getting that late start, and that's kind of a theme for the legal profession in general, because you have law school and it takes a while to get your career moving and that sort of thing. And then not being aware of and not taking advantage of all the opportunities that there are for you to maximize your tax savings.
Terrific. Darren, thank you so much. So now let's talk about maximizing post-sale earnouts. So when it comes to selling a law practice, really there are three options. The options are join a growing law firm, structure an internal succession plan, or just maintain the status quo. And when it comes to what is it that lawyers are selling, there's really 5 components of value when lawyers are selling their law practices. And those 5 components of value, what we call value chips, they consist of the client list and the referral source list, that proverbial book of business that a lawyer or a law firm has developed, the goodwill, subject matter knowledge, and the digital value. When it comes to actually selling the law practices today, we're in what we call law firm sales 1.0. In law firm sales 1.0, that client list and referral source list, those are the major assets that are being sold. And really, as Darren said earlier, it's a transition and not a transaction. And the reason why is because senior attorneys, they need to transition the clients and referral sources to typically growing law firms that they join. And the consideration that's paid is an earnout. That is, senior attorneys are typically paid on the collections that are received by a growing law firm over a negotiated period of time. So now, Darren, we'll turn it over to you. When senior attorneys are being paid via an earnout, could you share with us some financial planning tips to maximize what they're actually putting in their pockets as they're being paid out over, let's say, a 5-year period of time on the collections that come in from their book of business?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be a ton of information real quick coming at you. But, the best way to structure this, and you and I have talked about this a lot, but, you're going to have a whole lot of income coming in over a very short period of time. And so you want to be able to put as much of that away on a pre-tax basis as you can. The most ideal way to do this would be to structure yourself as your own LLC and to get paid in the form of a 1099 sort of distribution that then you can turn around and put into your own 401k, a solo 401k, maybe even pair that with a cash balance plan, which could permit you to put well over $100,000 a year away into, all on a pre-tax basis. That way, you have all that income in that short period of time. You can avoid hitting those high tax brackets and really save a lot in terms of taxes that way.
Terrific. And Darren, there's so much more information, of course, in
Yes.
your Lawyer Millionaire book, the Lawyer Millionaire podcast. So then for today's buzzer beater, when it comes to maximizing post-sale earnout payments, lawyers, particularly in the age bracket of 55 to 75, before they sell their law firms, should certainly be speaking with financial planner and accountant. Darren, who has written this book, The Lawyer Millionaire, please consider purchasing that book, reading the chapters on retirement in terms of how you can prepare pre-sale. And then post-sale, as you're earning that money as an earnout payment, how you can maximize the amount of money that you're putting in your pocket. So Darren, I'll turn it over to you for some last words as well.
Yeah, and I would just encourage folks also to think about, you're not usually going to be able to retire just on the sale of your law firm alone. So start thinking early, start planning early, start putting money away early, take advantage of that compounding growth in the market as early as you can. You've got to build up your cash in addition to thinking about your succession plan and the sale of your law firm.
Terrific. Darren Wurz of Wurz Financial Services, author of The Lawyer Millionaire. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that is the state of the market for law firm sales in a little bit more than 7 minutes.